World War II is one of the most overdone settings in video game history, right up there with zombies and space marines. The intriguing thing about this anomaly is the fact that World War II games are based in reality. This is stuff that actually happened, for the most part. Despite the fact that I've fought the Nazis hundreds of times by now, talented developers like Relic continue to deliver engaging experiences that are more than just a history lesson, and Company of Heroes 2 is one such game. The game begins in 1941 as you take control of the Soviet Red Army to mount your defense and fight back the invasion of the fascist Nazi regime. This setting automatically makes it feel more fresh than most offerings, since you won't be storming the beach of Normandy like in Company of Heroes 1 or the several other games that like to focus more on the Western conflicts. Instead of playing through a series of tangentially related story-based missions that barely provide a reason to continue playing, Relic tried to create a more complete narrative for Company of Heroes 2. Unfortunately, there is still little reason to care. The single-player campaign is told through the memories of one Lev Abramovich Isakovich, a Soviet Red Army lieutenant. He is being interrogated by an older official while locked up in a gulag, and the single-player missions are told through his memories and flashbacks. It's an interesting attempt to add more personality and depth to an otherwise menu-driven experience, but I don't think any fans of the series were really asking for cutscenes that felt and looked unfinished. Character models are blocky, animations are stiff, voice acting is hit or miss, and the writing feels just a slight bit off. This isn't a knock on the missions themselves or the campaign, but just that the delivery and attempt at a more cinematic experience feels forced and poorly executed. Looking past all of that and getting into the meat of the game, however, reveals a game that is full of tactical depth and strategic brilliance. Based on Relic's custom Essence 3.0 engine, Company of Heroes 2 is a rewarding and technologically impressive experience. All too often in real-time strategy games, it can feel like your units get killed in the most asinine of situations. Utilizing Essence 3.0 allowed the developers to actually create some of the most realistic and well-designed maps I've seen in a strategy game. One of the best features expanded on from Company of Heroes 1 is the cover system. Units can be placed at different places in cover for protection during firefights, adding an extra layer of strategy and increasing the importance of flanking and secondary abilities like grenades and flamethrowers. Essence 3.0 also employs an improved line-of-sight system known as True Sight, which better captures a troop's actual visibility, taking weather conditions into consideration. Speaking of weather conditions, Cold Tech has allowed Relic to create one of the first RTS games that fully captures what it would probably feel like to fight a ground war in the freezing countrysides of Russia. While traveling through icy snowstorms, troops that aren't built for the cold can literally die of frostbite, even in the middle of a fight. A temperature gauge next to a troop indicates their time left before death, which adds a whole new level of urgency to encounters. In order to prevent them from freezing to death, troops have to take shelter in buildings or by bonfires to warm up. Some maps even have frozen lakes or rivers to move across, but be careful, the ice can break under the pressure of your army. When it comes to actual gameplay, Company of Heroes 2 sticks to almost the same exact formula established by its predecessor back in 2006, and it still works. Managing your forces can feel overwhelming when you're in the middle of some of the larger scale battles, but the limited amount of base building and emphasis on strategy and tactics balances the experience. Different troop types have different abilities, ensuring your development of a diverse army for missions. Snipers are absolute beasts from a distance when you're in cover, but engineers have the real stars of the show. When flamethrowers, standard rifles, the ability to repair vehicles, and even the ability to build structures, you need solid engineers in your force. Conscripts are unique in that they can be called up during battle and have a war cry ability that serves as a buff. Thankfully, they can also merge with other troops to heal their losses. If your group of engineers has taken damage and went from 4 to 2 units, conscripts can replenish their lost numbers. All of these elements carry over into the two other modes in the game, known as Theater of War and Online/Skirmishes. Theater of War is the most unique of all the game modes in the entire package, but I'd recommend at least playing through a few hours worth of the single-player campaign before touching it. It's a little difficult and different. This mode is split into 3 sections: cooperative scenarios, solo scenarios, and AI battles. Out of the 3, cooperative scenarios offer the most enjoyment, in my opinion, putting you and a friend against AI enemies in different specific situations. Solo scenarios offer a similar experience, but by yourself. AI battles are essentially like skirmishes, but you play against AI that have a specific styles and objectives. It's essentially a more focused experience than a regular skirmish. Online multiplayer is here in full force as well, and the matchmaking works great, and you have options of 1v1 all the way up to 4v4 for some truly epic battles. There's also an army customizer menu section that allows you to tweak your loadouts and bonuses during games and between battles. This menu is accessible from the main menu and before you play online. Finally, Relic made the great decision of adding Twitch directly into the game's functionality from the main menu. With some login information and some other preliminary setup, you can be broadcasting to your Twitch channel from within the game, which is a really great addition. Overall, Company of Heroes 2 may not be a massive leap forward in terms of gameplay design, but the new setting, improved technology, and already deep existing foundations, there is so much to love here already. Head on over to GamingDragons.com to buy your copy of Company of Heroes 2 for PC today and stick it to the Nazis from Mother Russia.